Hello everyone, welcome back to 30 Art Circle. This time we're discussing the ODI series between Pakistan and Australia. Pakistan is touring Australia once again. Last year it was for test matches, this time it's for limited overs. We will be delving into the discussion about the series in itself, but then also stuff that is happening around Pakistan cricket. So, starting off, when I look at the squad, Arham, that Pakistan have announced, we have a new captain, Mohammad Rizwan. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've had a lot to unpack and uncover within the last few weeks. Pakistan cricket has, tried to, after that win against England, and we won the series. So, uske baad, we had talked about कि either they'll move towards some sort of stability, but things have just, taken a turn on itself. Uh, we've had change in personnel, change in captains, change in management. Uh, Even in the top tier management of the PCB. So there's a lot going on right now. So uh, if we go by it one by one, obviously we're looking at the Pakistan versus Australia series right now. Pakistan is touring Australia after a year. I guess one day so we had the last series in at home in Pakistan versus Australia. तो वो उसके बाद तो we are touring them for the first time for the limited overs. तो या तो उसके हिसाब से सही है बट आई गेस के मेकिंग रिजवान द कैप्टन दिस वाज ऑलवेज ऑन द कार्ड्स बट फॉर मी इट वाज ऑलवेज ऑन द कार्ड्स for ODI specifically but I think uh, you can say that it's not too late to go for the right decision but the things the timings of such decisions or जिस तरह ये decisions लिए जा रहे हैं there are quite a lot of question marks on the way things have happened throughout the year throughout the past couple of weeks to be very specific. But all in all, अगर आप overall देखें तो this is a pretty good decision making Rizwan the captain of your ODI side. It is going to be a very tough tour. So sending in a person who you think will have command over his troops is going to help the cricket team all in the series as well as in the longer run. Obviously, looking forward to Champions Trophy the next year, which will be played in Pakistan. Fingers crossed. But उसके लिए भी you need to prepare, start building your team, and that starts with having quite the personnel that lead your team when to attack. So I think उस हिसाब से देखा जाए तो it's a good decision.
Yeah, definitely. I think Rizwan being announced as captain again was always on the cards, and it is the right call when Babar Azam stepped down. Obviously, उसे ही बनना था, but the the point is that he has also been announced as the T20 captain. And I think it's something that we're going to discuss later on how that squad that they've announced is also going to be. But the idea is that Rizwan is going to be the captain and most likely will be leading us in the Champions Trophy. Although fingers crossed for that stuff as well, the way Pakistan cricket is going. But so if we look at before going to Gary Kirsten, I mean, what world were these PCB officials living in? They were expecting him to be a match strategist. That's the most ridiculous thing that they could have done. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just heads up for the people who aren't aware about this. Uh, so you can say that Mr. Gary Kirsten has resigned from his post, has not been kicked out, obviously, because the type of name he is, uh, you could say probably one of the best white ball coaches around the world right now. A thorough professional who does his job the way he wants it to be, and he had set his limitations and all the things. Whatever he wanted to do, he had set it up with the PCB earlier on, as we've heard earlier. But I think it, I just don't get it when certain people come into the management and say, I'm talking about the management of the PCB right now. They say that we're going shifting towards people, coaches who are going to be for basically foreign coaches who are going to help our side bring in certain mindsets, train differently, act differently, and win us games, and most importantly, trophies. But it cannot even persist long enough for them to have a sort of a time limit, or you could say a timeline for them to act, and it results in such. I do not, for the lack of better words, I say that this is idiocy, complete and complete and utter confusion for everyone else involved. Because if you're trying to have someone come in to replace Gary Kirsten in the long term or even in the short term, someone who's not from Pakistan, वैसे तो we know why this has happened, because there was some contender who just came up of the ranks. We won a test series against England. It supposedly he was the brain behind that, and part of the selection committee, now maybe coming out to be the contender for our head coach in the future series, maybe after the Australian series. Currently, we have Jason Gillespie. I just wanted to let you, you know, ask your opinion about how on earth is Jason Gillespie agreeing to all of this, becoming a coach that is just a match day strategist. I am shocked, to be very honest. I did not expect. I expected maybe Gary to continue for a bit more than he did, and Jason Gillespie being the first one to say, I'm off. I can't continue like this. But surprisingly enough for me, he has stayed on. So, what do you say?
Okay, I think I always expected Gary to have more say in terms of these things, because I think Gary is established coach who has won World Cups and made test team he made South Africa test team number one in test cricket. So I mean he has more on his transcript than Gillespie. But the problem is that it's maybe Jason Gillespie is staying on because he is a thorough professional and he deeply cares about about this team, and maybe he just thinks कि अगर इस time पे इतनी ज़्यादा chaos, इतनी ज़्यादा instability में, if he leaves as well, he might basically basically ruin the team even more. So maybe that might be his rationale, which is which I think is very generous of him, and it would be extremely fair if he leaves, because no coach in the world would agree or would be happy with this kind of situation where a selection committee sitting in the office, not being with the team, decides the playing 11 even when the team is on tour. I know that selectors traveling, Asad Shafiq is traveling साथ में, but that's literally the most ridiculous thing. I mean, it's the most short-term way of thinking that you can think of, right? Because एक टेस्ट मैच जो जीता उस सिलेक्शन कमेटी की स्ट्रैटेजी की वजह से, आपने उनको लिटरली पूरा पूरा बोर्ड, पूरा का पूरा टीम, हर चीज, मैनेजमेंट, कैप्टनसी, एवरी डिसीजन आपने उनके हाथ में दे दिया सिर्फ बिकॉज एक टेस्ट मैच जीता उन्होंने.
And to add on to it, sorry I'm interrupting you, but ये बात हमने पहले भी की थी कि this isn't rocket science. जो what they managed to pull off was something that was always on the cards. You're playing in your home country, you know how pitches work. You just needed to prepare them enough to suit your bowlers, and you weren't able to do that for the past couple of years. I do not know. The selection committee may have given them a proper guideline on how to prepare a pitch, but at the end of the day, it was the same curators who prepared the pitch, and these were the same bowlers. Even we talked about in the last podcast as well, when I mentioned Rehan ul Haq's point uh, of his podcast कि यही नोमान और साजिद थे who when England toured last तो पिंडी में, और and they went on for इतने रन सेंचुरीज पड़ी थी इन दोनों को लिटरली. So what changed? We did not have new induction. Either so they would have played Mehran Mumtaz or some youngsters from the domestic, and they would have struck gold. तो हम कह सकते थे कि it was a master stroke. But this was something that is so normal. Now we have basically what we've done is we've normalized doing things the right way or the decent way. तो आई जस्ट थिंक कि हम इनकॉम्पिटेंसी से इतना इतना हम वो हो गए थे, नॉर्मलाइज हो गए थे कि जस्ट ग्लिमर ऑफ समथिंग बीइंग डिसेंट इनफ फॉर यू So it made a lot of sense to many people, and we started talking about a lot of them. I for one do not think इतना बड़ा decision था कोई. Although we know कि भाई winning, coming back onto the winning track is certainly a great achievement with this Pakistan team currently. So, but just building on to that, what you need to do is build on that momentum rather than building on to those people. And basically your format mixing right now, if a strategy works for you in the test, doesn't mean that the same selection committee would do great for you while they're selecting the 11, or trying to do something for the 11 in another format. That is why you have specialized coaches. That was essentially the reason you had Jason Gillespie in for the tests, and Gary Kirsten, a world-renowned coach for the limited overs internationals. And essentially, what you've done right now is completely overhauled everything that you had worked on for the last week, couple of months, and now you've said now we're going back to the older models where we have one committee, और पहले एक बंदा होता था, the same captain or the same coach. Now you've gone for a singular committee, but we all know who will be running that committee. That committee will be in charge of all the formats and everything. So I think something that we've talked earlier on as well, कि Pakistan cricket takes a step forward, and usually the saying is that you take two steps back, but Pakistan cricket tries and tends to go 4 or 5 steps backwards. So that completely overhauls the situation for us.
या सो भाई पॉइंट ये है कि उस टाइम पे सिलेक्शन कमेटी फॉर आवर होम सीरीज अगेंस्ट इंग्लैंड वो वहां पे खड़े होके पिच बनवा रहे थे. व्हाट आर दे गोना डू इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया? I mean, they will be sitting in Lahore, Melbourne में नहीं होंगे वो. That's, I mean, this whole idea is so ridiculous that I can't even believe that we are genuinely doing this. And I'm sure the way एक टेस्ट मैच की बेसिस पे इन्होंने पूरी सिलेक्शन कमेटी को हर चीज दी थी, उसी तरीके से if we lose the series against Australia, which is very likely in every scenario, even Gary Kirsten was there, he had all the power. उस scenario में भी we were going to lose against Australia, which is normal for a team like Pakistan. ये लोग आकिब जावेद को भी kick out कर देंगे. That because desperation exists करती है officials के अंदर. There's just this idea कि हमें हर मैच जीतना है, and somehow miraculously हम जो हर मैच के बाद चेंजेस कर करके लिटरली वर्स्ट माहौल बना के प्लेयर्स के लिए हम जो गेम जीत जाएंगे. we're just gonna hold a stick in front of these players कि चलो अब जो you have to win, and they're gonna win. It's, oh my god, I'm sorry for going on a rant here, but it's, I still can't believe this.
वही नॉर्मलाइजिंग मीडियोक्रिटी वाली बात होगी ना, कि व्हाट वी हैव एसेंशियली डन राइट नाउ इज सेटल्ड फॉर समथिंग, going for, rather than going for processes and doing stuff and working on actually going for the wins in the latter run, or even going for trophies. You've essentially set shorter goals, and अपनी timeline पे काफी breaks लगा दिए right now. You aren't specifically targeting the Champions Trophy, which by the way is not that इतना दूर नहीं है अभी. It is also in the shorter run. So आप उसको भी नहीं देख रहे. You're looking at, you're going series by series. We heard the presser as well, so they talked about series by series evaluations of the captain even. अभी वो बंदा announce हुआ है, and they've said कि I just cannot, I do not know how they're going to work out like this. It baffles me a lot, and especially for Salman and Agha, I feel he's a great addition to the think tank as a leader in the leadership role. I think he'll do good as a vice captain. He's the only one I feel who will take on that vice captain role with much more effect than it could have been someone else who would have been just named as the vice captain on paper. And you can argue कि right now in the modern day cricket, it's just the background staff, the management, along with the captain who make the decisions. But sometimes advices may follow pursuit of any different change. So I think talking about Salman Ali Agha as well, what's your opinion?
Yeah, before going to Salman Ali Agha, you said modern cricket में जो it's the captain and the management actually who make the decisions. But in Pakistan, we've actually moved on towards the postmodern, where it's the selection committee who sets uh, probably 3 oceans away, वो decision ले लेते हैं. But
You're
yeah,
not letting this go. You're not letting this go.
no, I mean the fact that is that this thing exists, I will never let this go. But Salman Ali Agha, yeah, we've seen his interviews. We have seen him on the field. He is a very smart cricketer, and I think he is a great addition to the think tank. And the thing is, Pakistan. I don't want to be like this, but Pakistan mein the environment is so toxic that you start feeling for the players when they get into think tanks, because you think it, इनकी अपनी mental health जो है खराब होगी इस पूरी चीज में. So when the talk around the town was कि Salman Ali Agha might be announced as the T20 captain, my fear was that they're going to ruin a great player who really contributes to our side. But okay, he's the vice captain right now, and unfortunately, Rizwan is the T20 captain, which means that he will be in the side. Uh, but yeah, Salman Ali, a great cricketer. I think that's a good decision. I think captaincy, where they've generally taken good decisions. But there was another contender for captaincy, the ODI captaincy, and that was Fakhar Zaman. And we have seen in the last few days कि उसके साथ क्या हुआ है. I wanted to like move on towards the personnel squad के, because this is supposed to be a preview of the series. But even when I look at the squad, मुझे जो I just see कि Fakhar Zaman is not there, because that's the elephant in the room. So Fakhar Zaman, those who don't know, basically tweeted from his Twitter account defending Babar Azam and the decision to drop him. Uh, no, he didn't defend the decision to drop him. He defended Babar Azam, and he wanted him not to be dropped. Right. उसके बाद जो है वो the PCB's treatment towards him has been extremely horrible. He has been he has not been given a contract, which is ridiculous, because फ़खर ज़मान को कैसे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं मिल रहा पाकिस्तान का. देन उसके बाद जो है वो he has not been selected, and yeah, essentially we are planning for Champions Trophy without our most impactful player who time and time again has proved कि इस तरह के ICC tournaments में और pressure moments में how integral he can be. So I mean, again, the egos come over the team. The how we can see the priorities यहाँ पे. So, what do you think of this Fakhar Zaman wala fiasco? One of the arguments on Twitter was that PCB is so desperate that they're going to revert back to him just before the Champions Trophy.
I see that happening, even earlier than that. You never know कि within the next a few the span of a few days time, or yeah, maybe a month or so, this could happen. Not just before the Champions Trophy, you could say. I think एक तो दो बातें इसमें. I felt कि tweet को इतना बड़ा issue बनाना is something that us an organization like only PCB could have done. Meaning creating an issue out of almost nothing. A player expresses his opinions. अभी उस पे भी controversy है कि whether it was him or the people who handle his account, whether it was the corporation that handles both Fakhar and Babar, and they wanted to have something said out of another player's account, or they wanted him to get out of the reign for captaincy because Rizwan was in it, or Babar had a slight chance in to retain himself as the captain, so they wanted the next favored person, that was Fakhar, to be out of the race for the captaincy. There are many controversies and essentially theories here, conspiracies that have arisen on Twitter. But the the essential point is कि who's suffering? It's the player, it's the team. You're essentially robbed out of one of the best assets Pakistan have. I, for one, feel he's the best player by far, the best performer of the previous ICC tournaments that Pakistan has had. Whether it was the T20 formats, एक tournament थोड़ा सा off गया था, उसके अलावा he's done well in all of them almost. Whenever he's come up, obviously he's the sort of player who's high risk high reward वाली high ceiling. हमने जो बात की थी वो, तो we've had done great loads of analysis on Fakhar earlier on as well कि किस तरह how his approach rewards Pakistan in a much greater way than it sort of degrades our performance or affects it negatively. So us बारे में कि Fakhar is a sort of player and considering the fact that you're playing the Champions Trophy अभी तक फिलहाल in Pakistan, अभी we do not know the alternative ये क्या आगे जाके होगा खैर. Considering just the fact you're playing in Pakistan and Fakhar is a sort of player who will help you out tremendously on such tracks. It's not just about having players like Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan in your team. It's also about having your openers doing extremely well. Obviously, right now we are experimenting with having Saim in with Abdullah and Babar at three, Rizwan at four, and all of that. But Fakhar is a sort of player who you do not drop at all from his side because he's a sort of player who can win you games from any moment. We remember that run chase against New Zealand in the previous ODI World Cup, and we had almost given up after a score of 400, and we were thinking, it's time to pack our bags and come on. Out of nowhere, obviously, Kudrat helped us along the way, but it was just brute force and power from Fakhar Zaman. I feel कि uh, ignoring Fakhar, I think there are bigger motives about this whole controversy than all that we've got to learn about right now. I think it's just an opinion, or you could say a prediction that he'll come back into the side, थोड़ा सा देर से, but we'll go with him in the Champions Trophy. I do not see Pakistan going without Fakhar Zaman in the Champions Trophy because it's too big a call to take for people who are so desperate in having uh, I I'll use this word, but people who are desperate people pleasers, I do not feel that they'll take the risk, enough a big risk to draw Fakhar Zaman, the sort of where he is, just before your premier tournament, which is supposed to be held at your hometown. So I'm really sad about all of this. एक तो वो cover up story about fitness and all, if it's true, so there should be no question about anything else. If he's not fit, okay, you're giving him time off. But dropping him based on other things and then talking about it in press conferences and through your media, so it causes a lot of trouble to come your way. And I feel that Rizwan has to play a role here because if he's not just come up as a puppet figure in the captaincy role, if he wants to take his place as a great captain of the Pakistan team, he needs to come up and take lead, take charge, and maybe even question the management for doing this with Fakhar and ask him to be recalled to the side because I for one feel that Pakistan team obviously no one's bigger than the team, but performances are something that makes him stand out. That makes him stand out. So I feel that he needs to be there with the team at all costs.
Yeah, it's a fair assessment that he will come back because it's too big of a call to take for Rizwan is playing that role right now. I mean, there is a specific journalist on Twitter who is very close to the officials right now. He's been tweeting Fakhar is going to come back for it and stuff like that. But yeah, finally we can move towards the actual series. Let's just start with Pakistan's squad. So we have Rizwan as captain, and then in the top order we have Abdullah and Saim is the one who's replacing Fakhar Zaman. I think that's a very good decision in considering Fakhar is not there. If we accept Fakhar not being there, then Saim is a good alternative. उसके बाद we have Hasibullah Khan who's someone who can bat in the top order at the same time is very capable of going down middle order as well. We obviously have Babar Azam who's going to be batting at number three. I think there shouldn't be any doubt about that because ODI में तो he hasn't even been that bad. I mean his World Cup wasn't the best, but it was still good enough, I guess.
Yeah, but we do not have enough recent sample size to talk about this. कि भाई you're dropping Babar Azam in
Yeah.
his best format, you could argue. So it's too big a call to take right now to drop Babar Azam. But I think he'll bat at three throughout the series.
Definitely, definitely. I think there is no option. I mean, Babar has to bat at three. Then we have Rizwan, who's going to be the captain inside. We have Kamran Ghulam as well, so he might be there in the equation. I really hope they don't play him at number five and Salman Agha at number six, but it is very likely that they do that. इसके अलावा we have Irfan Khan Niazi as well complementing this team. He's supposed to be a power hitter, I think, which I think which I think that there were better options available. I love Irfan Khan Niazi as a cricketer. I think he's very similar to Tristan Stubbs. I've always drawn that comparison, but I just think that he's not the power hitter that you think that he is. इसके अलावा we have I'm really happy with the inclusion of Arafat Minhas. Then spinners को लेते हुए this Faisal Akram, and then उसके बाद we have our main usual suspects Shaheen Shafiq, Naseem Shah, Haris Rauf, and then we have Mohammad Hasnain, who has worked so hard after his injury, after his fitness issues. He traveled to England on his I think he spent the money by himself, right?
Yeah, as far as I've heard, he did it all by himself.
Yeah, he
So
did all by himself.
one of the great success stories we've had so far. Okay, I for one have not given up on him, but there was many questions rising on how well will he come back from his injury, and but he's worked really hard. And abhi recent domestic, maybe we saw how well he did, and I think it's a good call up for him. Hopefully he does well because the sort of bowler he is, he could benefit Pakistan a lot in this tournament as well, and even going forward. We're talking about Champions Trophy. Series will be a good place. I think Australia is a good place for him to come back. Thoda sa, it is a good decision taken by the team, by the selection committee. I feel they're playing, essentially going for the horses for the courses. Wali baat, they're essentially selecting people who will do well on those sort of tracks. So I think this बारे में सही, and coupling up with Haris, Naseem, Shaheen, and I think Amir Jamal is also there as the pace all rounder option. So decent enough squad for the Australia series. I think resources के हिसाब से देखा जाए, the only thing I was surprised with was going for the left arm, the Chinaman Faisal Akram. I think it's a big call taking him on for this series against Australia. I do not know whether they'll play him or not. कि किस तरह they'll size up their team, but obviously Arafat Minhas is there. We all know how good he is. We've talked about him being the all-round utility player in both T20s and ODIs. I for one feel ke we, I for one feel that Mehran Mumtaz could have also been there, especially after if you're looking for that Mohammad Nawaz wali like for like replacement. We had persisted with Mohammad Nawaz for quite a long time, and it did not work out quite so well for us in the last couple of tournaments. So उसके बाद not going for a left arm spinner, I think थोड़ी सी composition को देख के they took this decision, and they trusted Arafat Minas. So I think अच्छी good call थी. बाकी I think we missed Kamran Ghulam's name in the 11 in this squad as well. I think
No,
he's there too.
I did mention
हाँ.
he might play
So
at number seven, Salman or whatever.
another good call up. But do you think I for one have this contention that he'll not struggle, but he'll face a lot of difficulty playing in Australia because the type of player he is, we've all known that he struggles against the moving ball and on bouncy tracks. He's very good against spin and tracks where the ball stays low. So उस बारे में क्या ख्याल है?
That is correct, and I think yeah, he has performed really well in domestic cricket and all that. But yeah, you are right. He might struggle on the bouncy tracks of Australia, uh, and they once again gone with the format mixing melodies, uh, something that they always do, something that is very comes very naturally to Pakistan cricket, unfortunately. So yeah, Kamran Ghulam, but in my ideal 11, he is not there. For me, it always has to be Babar at three, Rizwan at four, and Agha at five. Salman Ali Agha at five. Salman Ali Agha has to bat at five. If you want to use Salman Ali Agha in his best manner in limited in ODI cricket, he has to bat at five. It's like you're wasting a gold mine if you play Salman Ali Agha at number six. And if you're taking in Farhan Niazi, and if you want him to be the power hitter, just before the Champions Trophy, just play him at number six अभी से, because आप ये नहीं कर सकते कि आप ना खिलाएं and then end में you feel like oh we're missing out on runs towards the end, and then फिर आप end में उसे शामिल कर रहे हैं, he doesn't perform well and is dropped for decades. So you can't do something like that with a player with the caliber of Irfan Khan Niazi. So, but when it comes to the middle order, three, four, maybe three, तो हमें पता है बाबर आजम, but four, five, six, and seven. What do you think? हमारी क्या होनी चाहिए choices?
Yeah, yeah. Just coming on to that, एक point I had was when I think कि ये वाली जो composition है इसमें you talked about playing Irfan Khan Niazi. I think we should not overlook the fact that there's no South Shakil in the squad. So वो essentially a spot opens up from last time, जो the earlier composition we had, where we had both Agha and South playing इन इन एट अ कपल ऑफ ओकेजन्स और उनमें से एक खेलता था कोई तो वो वाली बात कि essentially I think what they've tried to do here is कि they are pushing Salman Ali Agha up the order to number 5 and they'll play Irfan Khan Niazi at number 6. I think यही plan
Just
है इनका.
which is what they should do. They should not play Kamran Ghulam at five.
या आई थिंक बहुत बड़ा ब्लंडर हो सकता है if they play Kamran Ghulam because I do not think he has the numbers backing him to be playing at number 5. Domestic maybe as far as I've seen him play. So top order या at far number 4 पे खेला है he has played over there. So I haven't seen him play such low down the order because essentially when you're playing you know रिजवान के बाद अगर आप खेल रहे हो इन द बैटिंग लाइनअप सो इट एक थोड़ा सा टेम्पो शिफ्ट आ जाता है when you're batting at that phase. You do not need a player who takes time to accumulate runs, such as a Babar Azam, or even for that matter, Mohammad Rizwan when he starts off with his inning. So, थोड़ा सा play dynamics change at when you play, and that is why we say that number 5 and number 6 are the most important and essential positions for a batting lineup, especially in ODIs. Because T20 में so you go for a flexible batting lineup, anyone can play anywhere. But according to situation, but ODIs में it sort of goes on at a set template. People have tried to change it into a flexible batting lineup as well, and obviously you can make changes according to situation. But usually it goes on like this. Your player should be adapted to do things the normal way. And I think इस बारे में ही कि playing, I think they'll go with Irfan Khan Niazi at 6 and Salman at 5 and उसके बाद either they go for Arafat or Amir Jamal. ये question mark होगा मेरे लिए.
Yeah, so
They going.
let's just have a discussion on that. I think for me, it has to be four fast bowlers and Arafat. Because Arafat, I think, can be the kind of player who fills in the void left by Shadab and Nawaz in this team, that spin bowling all rounder wala void. Amir Jamal is talented and all that, but I just think that you are going to waste an opportunity by playing him instead of four fast bowlers, which are Shaheen, Naseem, Haris, and Hasnain. That bowling attack screams fire for me at least. And we know how. And there's a lot of talk about Haris Rauf sitting on the bench for Mohammad Hasnain. I want to play Mohammad Hasnain, but I also want to play Haris Rauf, considering his record in Australia.
Now, my counter question or counter argument to this might be, कि why not play both Arafat and Amir Jamal, and go with your frontline three paces, either benching one of Haris or Hasnain, going with either Shaheen, Naseem, and Haris, or the point I'm trying to make right now is, कि considering this team management as well, will they go for the more explosive route or the more safer route for Pakistan cricket team? Because we know the general notion is go with four pacers and a spinner along with Salman Ali Agha and you might do good. Considering the fact you're now having Saim Ayub to open your batting provides you with another 2 or 3 overs of off spin along with Salman Ali Agha who might help because I think they'll not consider or they'll not trust uh, a bowler like Arafat Minas to give him the quota of 10 overs. This is my personal view. I think when Rizwan will be captaining the side, I feel the usage of part-timers and bowlers who do not bowl that often will be increased. The frequency will be increased by a lot because we've seen in the PSL how well he used Pushdil, and we all know how much of a high utility captain he is. He gets all out of his resources. So I think us bare mein bhi, I think if they manage to get along on the same page with Rizwan and with what he wants to do on the pitch, I think उसकी उन दोनों चीज़ों को मिला के अगर चलेंगे तो आई थिंक they'll be able to create a much better 11. And I think होना तो आइडियली यही चाहिए कि यू गो विद फोर पेसर्स, जेन्युइन पेसर्स, एंड go for Arafat Minhas along with the two part-time off spinners, and not play Amir Jamal. But I will not be surprised if they go with both Arafat and Amir Jamal and drop one of the pacers, one of Shaheen Naseem and Haris. And I think they'll play Hasnain for sure because they are in no mood not to entertain the domestic performers right now. So उस केस में अब I do not know how this will go along, बट ये वाली बात आई थिंक कि इसमें थोड़ा सा 50-50 है इन माय ओपिनियन विद द सिलेक्शन कमेटी. आई थिंक दे विल डिसाइड ऑन ये इन द कोर्स ऑफ टाइम.
I mean, I think it is more likely that they drop Haris Rauf based on his performances in the World Cup too. But I would, when it comes to me, not I'm not being realistic or I'm not considering what the selection committee might do. When it comes to me, I would always play Arafat Minas at number seven and then four fast bowlers, and then share that fifth bowler wala quota between uh, Irfan Minaz, Salman Ali Agha, and Saim Ayub. And then they can also, and if a fast bowler is not doing that well, अगर 10 overs का quota उनसे पूरा नहीं करवाना, so they can also bowl more. Our part timers, I think they are good enough to be part timers. Uh, so that is what my thought was. I wanted to talk about Abrar Ahmed. I think he's someone who's been excluded from the squad, and I really feel for him. Right? I don't know if he's injured or not, but if he is not, I feel for him because he has always been in contention to be part of Pakistan's limited oversight. He has travelled with the team all along, but he hasn't gotten a single game. He got some T20s against New Zealand, bowled phenomenally, and then he was disappeared again. So, so if you always had Abrar Ahmed as your third choice after, or maybe fourth choice after Osama Mir, Shadab Khan, and Nawaz, आपने उन तीनों को ड्रॉप किया एंड देन फिर उसके बाद आपकी फोर्थ चॉइस जो थी, जो आपकी नेक्स्ट चॉइस थी, उसे आपने ट्राई ही नहीं किया, उसे भी ड्रॉप कर दिया एंड बिल्कुल ही आप नए पर्सनल ले आए. आई for one think that he should have been in the squad instead of Faisal Akram. What do you think?
यार एक तो आई थिंक कि वो इंजरी वाली बात, फिटनेस का इशू आई थिंक हो सकता है बिकॉज ही इज रिकवरिंग फ्रॉम एन इलनेस और समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो उस पर थोड़ा सा इशू हो आई डो नॉट नो ऑफिशियली क्या स्टेटमेंट है, बट मे बी ये वाला फैक्टर कंसिडर इन हुआ होगा. बट आई थिंक अगर ही वुड हैव बीन फिट एज वेल तो यही बात होनी थी. Abrar would have been dropped. I think this happens essentially because you're not providing continuity to your setups, your managements, your selection committees, and all. Ha- हम किस the thing is, how could we question people who have come up as new managers or selection panels to जो उनका motto है that is to bring change, do something different than the previous ones. So what they'll essentially say is कि we've made this change because we feel like this will be more helpful towards the team. Had there been the same selection committee, the same people managing the sides, the same captain or other things, so our question would have been genuinely addressed and our criticism would have been right. I think कि ये question अभी पूछना उनसे will won't bear us any fruit. But I agree with you that I would have personally gone with Abrar in the squad, along with maybe you could have dropped a batter or Faisal Akram. I think हाँ Faisal Akram की जगह खिला you could have gone with Abrar Ahmed. There are a lot of questions. एक तो Shadab being tremendously out of form and absolutely doing nothing right now, goes against him a lot. And Osama, same goes for Osama Mir. So we lack that quality leg spinner or wo angle we missing out from our side. But they've gone for a Chinaman to a completely different aspect of things. So, but वही वाली बात है कि there's a lot of confusion going around things that we're trying to do right now. And I think that what they're trying to do is accidentally trying to stumble upon the right combination, just like we did with the pitches against England. I think ये वही वाली बात हो रही है. We'll land on one eventually, but the only question will be, will it be too late by then? Will everything have gone, astray by then? So वही, it's only a matter of time, I think. But I agree with your point regarding Abrar. के, had he been fit, I would have had him in the 15 as well.
Yeah, I mean, you said कि सिलेक्शन कमेटी से पूछने का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है. I mean, the fact is कि throughout the history, dictators से कोई भी सवाल करने का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होता. So, so that is one part of it. But yeah, I think one final thing that we have got to discuss about that squad is the opening combination. Are you like happy with Abdullah and Saim? I think Abdullah, as far as I think he was always in my first choice. I just think that I just think that the way he performed in that World Cup, coming in the middle of the tournament, he deserves to be there for till the Champions Trophy. Even if he doesn't perform that well, abhi series वगैरह में, he needs to be given a go. When it comes to Saim Ayub, he was always my third choice opener, with Fakhar being the first choice opener. And I just think that they will do this eventually, as we discussed.
Yeah, I agree. I think open and fair call the going with Saim Ayub and Abdullah Shafiq as your opening pair. वही वाली बात कि Abdullah being there till the end, at least till the Champions Trophy is something that we would want, we would like, and I think is something that needs to be done for the team. थोड़ा सा sense of stability होनी चाहिए team में. You're trusting your younger players, going forward, rather than tormenting them with immense amount of pressure and chopping and changing quite often. तो वही वाली बात कि I think Saim is a good decision. Obviously it will not be an easy series, but we have seen, if younger players show character and skill on the highest of stages, we eventually get good results and the team tempo and momentum also rises. So I feel a lot will depend on the both of them, but I won't hold them under too much of scrutiny if they do not manage to do that well, because at the end of the day they are playing in utter chaos right now. So वही वाली बात कि things are in a lot of confusion, and I think थोड़ी सी stability अगर हो. एक बात इसमें सही थी कि we had there were talks about some players making wild card entries into the 15 when ये captaincy वाला जो fiasco चल रहा था. So we had some outside contenders to lead the 11 and maybe come into an open as well. तो वहाँ पर थोड़ी सी confusion थी, but I think eventually the same call was made, and they continued with having Abdullah and bringing in Saim for Fakhar, which we've talked about earlier as well कि Fakhar के साथ कितनी बड़ी ज्यादती है. But going forward, I think फिर भी decent decision है ये कि Saim and Abdullah are opening.
Yeah, I was looking at the Australian squad, Abhi, and they are going with their first choice. The players who are not there, Mitchell Marsh, I think, is not there. That's because he's on a paternity leave. So yeah, we will be facing a first choice 11 from Australia. So that makes things a lot more difficult. So based on that, what's your prediction uh, when it comes to the score line of the series?
Yeah, it'll be harsh. I do not see us winning. Either we won't win any game, yeah, at max we'll win one, and that winning one game will be out of pure hope and prayers for our team कि किसी तरह एक गेम जीत जाए. But you never know. We If you remember earlier on when Bangladesh visited us test series में, we had predicted 3-0 wins for Pakistan, and what happened at the end was the complete opposite. So you cannot say anything with Pakistan cricket. वही जो mercurial वाला tag attach हुआ हुआ है, but it will be very very hard for us to secure a win against this Australian lineup and in their home conditions. So it will be quite the feat if we manage to do it.
I just think Australia is too good. I mean, their recent performance against England also shows that, and that was not their first choice squad. Travis Head is not there, by the way. I just checked यहाँ पे because he's also on a paternity leave. But they have Matthew Short as a replacement, and who's been phenomenal for the last 2 years in Big Bash, in IPL, and then in international cricket as well. Jake Fraser McGurk not in form right now, but we all know if he gets back in form against Pakistan, which is very likely, he's gonna he's gonna bring in a lot of problems for Pakistan too. So yeah, it's a very strong squad. My prediction is it's 3-0 loss for us, and I won't blame our players for that.
It's not like that you've won consecutive series in Australia against Australia previously. Okay, what pass do you have to look off for your players? You've essentially done nothing when you've told them एक आध play. We all we remember from the previous times when we played ODIs against Australia in Australia is either a good knock or two from Babar Azam. I think 2016 वाली knocks, 2017 was it? I do not remember correctly the year, but वो एक आध knock दिमाग में रहती है. But उसके अलावा you do not see anything coming out of those series other than humiliating losses for us. So I think if we even manage to give them good competition at the end, it's not T20. You do not know if you have a good 20 overs or so you will win the game. ये वो वाली कहानी तो है नहीं. It's a bigger format and essentially requires a lot more skill and perfection from your players, which currently we cannot say anything about. We have a lot of talent and potential, but putting it to the test at the biggest stage of them all, I think it will be quite an achievement if they manage to do so. But we're hoping against hope as we always do with Pakistan cricket team and away tours. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, we're hoping against hope, as we always do. That's very well articulated by Arham. It's a side which will mostly, I'm talking about Australia, which will most probably win the Champions Trophy as well in 2025. But yeah, that is about it from 30 Yard Circle. That's the series preview for Pakistan versus Australia. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.
You got me.